So, Andrew, as we take a step back from this, the argument from the White House, and they're not alone in this country, I don't think, is that a nonpartisan actor, a highly respected man in Robert Mueller, the former FBI director, was given 2 years, given all the resources he needed, a full staff, interview anybody he wanted to talk to, and he concluded in one anyway, that there was insufficient evidence to establish a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. Do you accept that conclusion, knowing what you know, that the Trump campaign did not work with the Russian government, or just that there was not a sufficient evidence found by Director Mueller that that happened?
Willie, concluding that you don't have sufficient evidence to prove under the criminal law in this country the existence of a conspiracy is very different than concluding that all kinds of inappropriate contacts took place. I mean, we know now from the report something over 140 contacts between individuals associated with the campaign, contacting and having interactions with Russians or people connected to the intelligence services. This is unprecedented activity. So, you know, what has been billed as no collusion, no obstruction should probably be recast as no witch hunt and no exoneration. I think that was the message that Bob Mueller was telling us yesterday.
So what's your suspicion then, given those 2 years and all the resources that Bob Mueller had, that he couldn't establish that kind of a conspiracy?
Well, I think the report clearly lays out some of the challenges he had in obtaining the testimony of some witnesses and obtaining documents and evidence of communications from folks who had gone to some length to conceal or destroy those communications. So look, he had a tough hurdle to get over from the very beginning. But again, read the report. We all know the details of the interactions that are laid out in that Volume 1. They are significant. And I'll say this, too. I was struck by the amount of detail that the Mueller team put in the report about the government of Russia's activities. You have specific military units being identified, the tactics and techniques they were using to influence the campaign. It is an extraordinarily high level of to reveal about a federal investigation, and I think it was done purposefully to show the American people exactly the seriousness of what we were confronting.
So then, do you believe that there was a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russian government?
I think there's no doubt that there's absolutely no doubt that the Russians were interfering with the election for the purpose of helping the Trump campaign. There is also no doubt that the Trump campaign was receptive to that assistance, was interested in receiving that assistance. The one thing we lack is kind of the keystone in the bridge, that agreement between the two parties. And I think what we have here is just a clear lack of evidence to bring a prosecution on those grounds.
But you believe there was a conspiracy there?
I believe there was a strong desire, a willingness on both parts. I can't sit here and point to that evidence of an agreement.
Do you believe there was obstruction on the part of the President of the United States?
I believe, and I think the Mueller report details quite clearly, that the President engaged in numerous acts intended to obstruct and impede the investigation.
Would you recommend the United States Congress bring up impeachment?
I think it's important that the United States Congress does its job. I think that the American people have the right to hear in detail from witnesses what the Mueller team found out. I mean, look at the impact of just Director Mueller's 9-minute statement yesterday. People are talking about and thinking about this investigation in a different way in the last 24 hours, simply as a result of the fact that Director Mueller came on TV and spoke about it. I think, look, the fact is, most Americans are not going to sit down and read a 400-page report. I think it would be important for folks to hear from some of the key witnesses and to make up their own minds about what they think about the President's behavior.
Should Director Mueller testify before Congress?
I expect that he probably will, as much as he probably wants that least in life. If subpoenaed, I'm sure that